team has been tasked to look at the smart grid technologies and to kind of look at the opportunities and the benefits that could be achieved, and to develop a strategy for moving beyond our smart grid strategy we have in place today. As you can see, we've got 5 folks on the team. Jamie and I are going to talk with you today. My part is going to be talking a little bit about the history and the background of some of our utility system modernization efforts in the past. Jamie's going to talk more about the smart grid pilot, and then also talk with you a little bit about this initiative in more detail. Before I do want to add that we do have quite a bit of other resources that have been helping us. There's plenty of subject matter experts within KUB that's helping us. We also have a lot of good working relationships with a lot of other utilities, and we are able to compare notes and learn from each other in that regard. We've also engaged the use of a consultant, that being West Monroe Partners. They happen to be the consultant that worked with us as we applied for and successfully achieved the Smart Grid grant from the federal government. So they have quite a bit of experience, and we're pleased with their effort. Before I start, I want to mention and remind you that we've got a pretty smart system already. We actually have had a pretty smart system for quite some time. The green circles on this map represent 300 plus remote sites. The remote sites are like electric pump station or electric substations, water pump stations, gas regulator stations, wastewater tanks, water tanks. Those are critical pieces of infrastructure out in our distribution and electric systems. Prior to that, but many years ago, we had plenty of folks that had to drive around the system. They were eyes and ears of what's going on out in the system. So a lot of trucks, a lot of service area, 24/7, people driving all over the place. In the 1970s, we started installing some communication infrastructure. And that infrastructure included some radio frequency technology to go to and from the remote sites. We put in some telephone communication lines, and we also leased some telephone communication lines. What that enabled us to do was become a little smarter. As we mentioned, our eyes and ears were folks out in the field prior to that. An example of how we become a little smarter in that regard is like a water tank and how it relates with a pump station. It's fully automated. If the water level in the tank gets to the highest point in a water tank, it tells the pump station to kick off the pump. If it gets down to the lower level in the water tank, it tells the pump to kick on. It could be even if the water continues to draft and get lower in the tank, it tells the pump station to kick on another pump. So it's fully automated. And as well, our system operations center is fully aware of what's going on out in the system without people driving all over the place. We also read about 400,000 meters each and every month. And there's a small percentage of those that we have difficulty getting access to get to the meters. There's a bunch of reasons for that. Some of those might be that over the years they've been put in basements. It could be that they're behind locked closets. It could be that they're behind locked gates. It could be dog issues, quite honestly. A lot of reasons why we have difficulty accessing meters. In 2005, we really got comfortable with automated metering technology. And we started looking at it and started evaluating, hey, maybe the access meters is somewhere we could probably make some benefit, get some benefit. So the blue dots on this map represent 14,000 meters, of which we have had access issues that we've deployed automated meters. So now, today, as a meter reader walks by a site where previously they had some access issues, they actually, instead of fumbling for keys, trying to find a way to get into behind gates or what have you, or call ahead, maybe talking to a customer, they actually have a handheld unit, which they use on a manual basis when they see a normal read. But when they pass by one of those meters that are an automated meter, the meter automatically emits the meter reading right to the handheld unit. So it's automated, just walk by. So our comfort level with that significantly increased in 2005. We really enjoyed and we appreciate the benefits that we started gaining from those type automated meters. So in 2009, we started looking for another opportunity where we might be able to use remote metering. The area in blue is what's been added on this particular map. That actually represents 16,000 gas meters. There's a section of our service area where we serve only gas services. We picked part of that area, again, 16,000 meters. What we did is we put in automated meters in that area. And what that did was eliminated 39 walking routes So the meter readers walking the routes, getting handheld units and putting in the meter reads no longer took place. Now, one meter reader, one truck, one day, 16,000 meters are being read. With that effort, we're saving, since 2009, saved nearly $500,000 in that technology and that utilization. So we think there's more and more opportunities. If we continue to look for those opportunities, we need to be strategic about it. And from that, I'm going to let Jamie take it from here.
Thank you, sir. Commissioners, that brings us to our current efforts as it relates to utilizing this smarter technology. And as you may recall, in 2009, KUB did receive the grant that Darwin mentioned, a Smart Grid Investment Grant as part of the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act of 2009, or commonly known as stimulus funds. And our goals with that project were to understand this technology at a deeper level. It continued to evolve, it continued to change. We wanted to be sure that we understood it, we understood how it worked, and understood where it best fit KUB, and to see if we could demonstrate the benefits that were touted with this type of technology. Now, we've got elements of the project throughout our utility system, but this is the core project area. Generally loosely kind of defined, it's bounded by I-40 to the north, Henley Street to the east, Neyland to the south, and Concord to the west. This is a really good cross-section of KUB. For one reason, it represents all four of our services: electricity, natural gas, water, and wastewater, as well as it represents a number of different types of our customers, from residential to commercial to even light industrial and institutional with the University of Tennessee. All of the University of Tennessee's main campus is covered inside of this area, so all of their meters were part of this particular project. As you see the blue line on the screen, that is a fiber optic line that we've constructed as part of this project as well. It connects the 4 substations that are in the footprint of the particular project area. Also, as part of the project, we installed 4,300 meters. Those have two-way communication. They report outages. They give us a remote read. We can perform remote starts and stops, disconnects, and reconnections. Also, as part of the project, we installed a number of different devices related to distribution and substation automation. Those tools give us the ability to operate our system more reliably, more efficiently, and to reduce our costs. In order for those items to be able to talk back to us and get back to the home office, we had to create and construct a communication infrastructure. Now, the blue line on the chart before, or the map before, showed you the fiber line as part of that project, but also across our service territory, we constructed 18 antennas that allow wirelessly these devices to talk back to us as well. Now, one thing that's currently under construction as well too is our customer portal, and we're really excited about this. This will allow our customers inside the pilot area to have access to their information that they currently don't have. It will allow a customer to be able to see hourly utility consumption information, as well as provide them for some mid-month billing estimates, and we're excited about that as a tool to help them get a peek into their utility consumption. All in all, the total project cost is right at $8.4 million, of which the federal share of that was $3.6 million. We hope to finish the project up in spring of this year, or 2014, we're almost there. And we're starting to see some benefits of the project, and we believe it's been a success. Any questions on the pilot? All right. So where that leaves us today as part of this effort is how do we move forward? What technology should we invest in? What makes sense? And ironically, with all the focus on smart grid, there isn't one consistent definition or one consistent solution. You know, you watch TV and hear about GE, industry giants like GE and IBM saying investing in a smarter grid. Well, what is that? And the reality of it is, it's kind of like putting a puzzle together. And we've kind of demonstrated that with the puzzle pieces up here on the board. At the end of the day, it's left up to every utility company to decide what makes sense for their community, for their customers, and their company. And so to talk a little bit about what we see as the common elements, regardless of solution, we think there's some commonalities amongst these categories. The first of which we've talked a little bit about, communications network. That comes in many different shapes and sizes of wireless, fiber, so forth and so on, and everywhere in between. Pictured in the purple box over on the left is one of KUB's antennas that we constructed as part of the project, and next to it is a fiber takeout point in the core project area. Over on the far right in the green box, solutions as it relates to smart utility consistently have smart metering. And again, those meters have two-way communication. They provide for a litany of operational information, as well as giving us cost savings of not having to go to the field and read the meter, being able to perform remote disconnect and reconnections, getting transfer reads, so forth and so on, as well as providing an automatic outage notification back to KUB when that customer's out of power. There are a lot of devices in the blue box related to system automation and control, and that's where I mentioned about distribution and substation automation. The picture on the left there in the blue box is a smart switch. It is able to detect a fault on the line and either prevent or at least limit the amount of an outage that occurs. The item in the middle is a voltage tap changer inside our substation that helps our distribution system run the most efficient way possible. And the item on the right is a faulted circuit indicator placed on the line that helps us pinpoint the place of an outage, both for the crew out in the field as well as letting the operations center know exactly where that outage is. All of those devices support the concept of reliability, efficiency, and reduced cost. But at the end of the day, the center of a good solution takes into account the customer. Now, inherently, the customer benefits from all these types of devices. But the interesting thing that relates to this technology now is we're going to be able to share information with them in a way we've never been able to before. Now, I mentioned to you the portal, and we think that kind of technology will continue to advance as well down the road. So as we begin to take a look at how we move forward, there are some key factors that we're going to be looking at. One of which is aging equipment. Now, each of us have an example of where obsolete technology has happened in our lives. The floppy disk, the 8-track, the phone that you actually only talk on. There are things that have kind of gone away over time, and our meters are becoming the same way too. The 5-dial meter that all of us have grown up with, you can't buy them anymore. And so the industry is changing in that regard as well. And while those are very good meters, and there's many of them still in service, we simply can't buy them anymore. The industry is changing. Communication infrastructure is changing as well too. Derwin mentioned that we have run copper lines, telephone lines out to our different remote sites, and we own some of those, and we lease some of those. And our vendors are changing as well too. We were notified even as we were working on this project of some news that one of our vendors was changing their strategy as well too. And as such, moving away from that analog wire to a digital wire, the support for these analog wires ends in 2020. And we're already seeing some increased fees along with that strategy. It goes without saying our customers' expectations continue to rise. With the advent of information at our fingertips with the internet, smartphones, customers are starting to expect that of their utility as well. And an interesting note, one of our KUB focus groups with our customers, it was already a commonly held thought that that we knew when they were out of power anyway. And we know that that's not true for all of our customers. That being said, our decisions come down to benefits, cost, and pace. And as you can see, just in talking in these few examples, there are numerous operational benefits, as well as cost-saving and environmental benefits as well too. For every mile driven, that's a gallon of fuel that's not consumed, and that gives KUB a very practical way to contribute to a cleaner environment. But at the end of the day, all of those benefits have a cost. And we've got to be sure, as good stewards of our ratepayers' money, that we're investing that cost for the best benefit possible. And that leads us to make the decisions about pace. And so that's what we'll be looking at. We'll be looking at we're currently researching options. Darwin mentioned working with our consultants, working with internal staff. We'll continue to look for options of transitioning from this pilot phase. And as we build those options, we hope to come back during the FY15 budget cycle to provide for any incremental recommendations for funding in these areas. Regardless of what we do, we really think we need to be working on a customer input strategy. And we'll be working on that this summer, and hope to have it done by this summer, I should say. That would be for a customer communication plan, for policies related to this technology, as well as engaging other community organizations and governmental agencies as to their thoughts about our plans. So with that, Derwin and I will be glad to answer any questions.
Have you had any customer input from within the smart grid pilot area since it's been in effect?
Not from inside the pilot area. We've seen some interest in this technology. We'll get calls every now and then saying, when is this coming to me? And it's more so, I think, from just their knowledge of what's going on nationally, as opposed to even here in Knoxville.
Anybody else? Great job. We appreciate it. We're looking forward to all these follow-ups. We'll invite you back. You'll want to see how it all ends up. Yeah. Eston, can you give us a nominating committee report?
Sure. Commissioner, in January, the board elect officer as required by our charter. The nominating committee met earlier today and voted to nominate the following slate of officers for 2014. And those are Chair Bruce Anderson, Vice Chair Celeste Herbert, and Secretary Mark Walker.
I should know this, but I don't. Is this, do we
We
vote?
vote on it after the swearing in of the next board.
Okay, that's what I thought. All right. So we don't have to do anything, because I didn't have any instructions here. I listed about 50 things. Yeah. The last thing is a resolution regarding Commissioner Robinson. Of all the jobs that a chair gets to do, probably the least desirable is to say officially goodbye to somebody who's been on the board. It's sort of scary how fast 9 years can go. But we have a resolution, and that resolution is going to talk about some of the things that have you have accomplished and KUB's accomplished in those 9 years. But what it doesn't do is talk about the personal side of what you have done for us and the way that you have served both as a commissioner and as a chair. And you know, I'd like to say from me personally, that there are several things that I greatly appreciate. You've always been a very thoughtful commissioner. You've asked questions in a way that has benefited this board. We appreciate that. You've also been in times when we've had people come here and we've been involved in things that are difficult for us to sit here and take. You've been very respectful to those people. Times where maybe sometimes they didn't deserve it, but you have done that, and I appreciate that. The board appreciates that. That's not an easy thing to do sometimes. But lastly, I think the thing that I always think about over these 9 years is the amount of time that you put into the board. I made it through, I think, one tree trimming meeting, and it was all I could do. And you were virtually there all the time. That's commendable. You are a great place for KUB, so we appreciate that. And if you'll stand up, in recognition of your service, both as commissioner and as chair, we have a gift, and let me show it. I don't want to dump it in the floor, but there's a gavel. I'm not sure why you always get the gavel when you leave as a commissioner. You need it when you're sitting here. But on behalf of the board and staff, we appreciate everything you've done. Thank you. Thank you. And I would now, there's a topic with something. I'd ask Mr. Coley to read Resolution 1302.
My pleasure, 10 minute time. A resolution of the Knox Utilities Board concerning S. Pace Robinson, who is concluding service as a commissioner. Whereas S. Pace Robinson became a member of this board in March 2005 and has now served faithfully for almost 9 years. And whereas during his tenure, KUB has experienced a 7% expansion of its customer base, with a growth from about 414,000 customer counts to over 444,000. And whereas Commissioner Robinson was a tireless advocate for customers, recognizing the balance between the needs of business and residential customers, the need to invest in the system, and the need to manage costs. And whereas through cost control efforts during his term, KUB reduced the number of employees by nearly 10% to help keep O&M costs per customer as low as possible. And whereas in total, KUB employees identified $110 million in savings over 6 years from reducing staffing levels, reductions in overtime, improved productivity, stepping up internal conservation efforts, and finding other cost-saving opportunities. And whereas since the first year of his term, Commissioner Robinson demonstrated support of KUB's PACE 10 program, which has seen federally mandated capital investments grow from $1 million per month to $1 million per week, allowing KUB to meet consent decree requirements. And whereas 125 projects have been completed, upgrading over 200 miles of sewer lines, constructing 34 million gallons of wet weather storage, and making significant improvements at the treatment plants. And whereas during his tenure, Commissioner Robinson advocated to adopt 2 separate resolutions to implement Century 2 long-term funding plans, thereby committing to accelerate investments for aging infrastructure across all systems. And whereas this funding is allowing for the timely replacement of water and gas mains, overhead and underground electric lines, power poles and equipment at substations, pumping stations, and treatment plants. And whereas Commissioner Robinson demonstrated support of KUB's vegetation management program, exhibiting leadership during the formation of the policy review process, attending many public meetings, and supporting the implementation efforts, including the naming of the first ever customer advocate. And whereas in addition to his active role as commissioner during his tenure, he served as chair and vice chair of the board, as well as chair of both the audit and finance and nominating committees. And whereas Commissioner Robinson has further distinguished himself in KUB through his involvement in the business community. And whereas over the past 9 years, he has consistently acted in the best interest of KUB and its customers. Now therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Commissioners of the Knox Utilities Board that this board hereby gratefully acknowledges and commends S. Pace Robinson for his dedicated service to KUB, its employees, customers, and our community. That the board recognizes Commissioner Robinson's effective service, and that the board genuinely regrets his time on the Board of Commissioners has concluded. And finally, that this resolution shall take effect from and after its passage, and that a copy shall be provided to Commissioner Robinson. This resolution is signed by all commissioners. Mr. Chair.
Ask for a motion to approve
So moved.
Resolution 1302.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
No discussion?
No. Oh. In fairness to you, would you like to say something?
I hope I can get this out. I've enjoyed my time. I think I've learned a lot from my co-commissioners, the staff that's here. I think your new commissioner went through the entire tree panel, so she spent a lot of time as well. So I think she got a great taste of that process anyway. I appreciate the respectfulness, the way this board operates. I know you know your responsibilities. I would hope that you continue to ask questions. It's the best way. I would like to say to the staff that we have very little interaction with you guys except for a few minutes here and there. And but I think we have the confidence knowing that you are back there providing data, doing your work, taking care of business, if you will. And it gives us the confidence to be able to make the tough decisions, even sitting up here at 50,000 feet. So it's a shame that you guys maybe don't get the recognition you deserve, if you will. But we know, and I personally know, that I could conduct myself knowing that you know, this wonderful organization was back there taking care of business. Excuse me. I would like to thank my wife, who backs me up a lot. Just a moment, please. Especially when you mentioned the tree panel, and there were some rather not very nice emails going back and forth, and Karen was there to support me. So I guess that's it. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you. Anybody else have a?
I would like to say something on behalf of the staff and personally from me. We had these presentations today on leadership, and it's very important to us. but we don't take for granted the leadership of this board, and in particular, the leadership from PACE. I learn every day so much from each of you, and it has always been a privilege for me to work with PACE, both on a professional level and as an individual. He is a great businessman. He understands business decisions. He has been very helpful in me understanding the balance of issues that we have to consider, but he's also been a compassionate person, and he has helped me see that it's not always in the numbers, it's also in our hearts and the service that we provide. So on behalf of all the staff and for me as an individual, our time has been too short, and I thank you for all you've done.
Is there any other business for the board? Any other comments from the audience? Anybody signed up? If not, we will be adjourned. I would remind everybody that there is a lunch meeting across the hall that is open to the public, and with that, we're adjourned.